Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion. I'm B. Avery, of course, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And with this episode right here, we got to continue to talk about the Scarlett Johansson suing Disney because she felt like it was a breach of contract that has been circulating all around the entertainment news circle. And most notably, not only that, but apparently things are just a bigger mess at Disney than we originally anticipated. Former CEO Bob Iger is just really not getting along with new CEO Bob Chapek, and I just hope things don't fall apart. I just hope so. But I have this article right here from the Wrap where it breaks it all down, and I'm just so excited to get into it, talk all the nitty gritty. But before I do that, I'm not going to be talking about this by myself. I have two guests, and I'm going to go ahead and bring them in now. And that is Mr. Elliot for Movie Files and Eman from Eman's Movie Reviews. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, man. The saga continues.
Yes,
good.
Yes. And so again, I want to respect you guys' time, man. And so just real quick, I mean, I don't know if people know that on my channel how y'all feel about this, but Eman, I'm gonna go to you first this time. Just give me a quick rundown of your initial thoughts on this whole Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and how that came about. And then Elliot, I'm gonna come to you and then we're gonna get into this article.
Yeah, I mean, look, ScarJo. Sorry about that.
You good?
ScarJo signed an agreement with Marvel Studios back in 2017. And because of that agreement, it was basically said, yo, we're going to drop this movie in theaters. And that was standard language within the movie industry for a long time. It was always understood and implied that it was only theaters. And then later on, drop it to home entertainment or whatever. And that was cool. However, a pandemic happened. And in between that time, as you mentioned earlier, we had a change in leadership. We went from Bob Iger, who was a very artist-friendly, creative-friendly leader, to Bob Chapek, who's a little bit more corporate-minded, right? And because of this and the pandemic, Disney was like, oh, let's go ahead and drop it in theaters. So we will oblige by the contract, but let's also drop it on Disney Plus. ScarJo's people try to go back, try to be like, yo, wait, hold up, let me get a piece of that. Disney was like, nah, we ain't playing that mess with you. And eventually she sued. And now we have like this big mix-up, that we're gonna get into where like there's this internal strife because Disney right now, they can sit here and say, yo, we didn't breach your contract because your contract did not say exclusive to theaters. It did not say that at all. It only said drop it in theaters with a wide release. And then, but ScarJo's people are going to be like, yo, you knew what we signed and we were under the same mindset, at that time. And y'all didn't want to renegotiate. So there's a lot of stuff here. But what's really going to be the question is, we have a court of public opinion versus actual courts. Who's going to win? That's what we're going to have to talk about somewhere. And who's to blame? Who in Disney's leadership, Marvel's leadership, is to blame with all this too.
Right on. And I have an article right here from Variety, and this will be down in the description box below. Since you said who's to blame, movie theaters owners blame Marvel's Black Widow box office collapse on Disney Plus launch. And so if you want to read that, you can. It's in the description down below for at your own leisure. Elia, how you feeling about all this, man? How you feeling?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the biggest villain in this whole thing is two people. One, Zemo comes to mind. He said it in Civil War. You want to destroy empire, you do it from within. So I think Zemo has something to do with this. And Agatha. It could be Agatha all along, man. I mean, these are two characters that are just been plotting to bring down the Avengers, and they're working so far. But no, all serious, man. This is a mess. Under Bob Iger's, reign as the CEO, we really, we've heard things, rumblings, some, disgruntled directors, Patty Jenkins and the whole Dark World thing, and Edgar Wright not working out, and some other various Disney films that might have, turned out like they wanted to turn out to be. But we've never had the drama in front of the audience like this. This is kind of like when Will Smith and Jada, and we got a behind the scenes of kind of the stuff that went on with them and the whole entanglement. This is kind of letting the dirty laundry out. And I blame blame that on the man on the left, Bob Chapek. This is something that we've, like I said, if I can't predict the future, but if Bob Iger was in the situation, I think this would have been resolved, quietly, discreetly, and not in front of everyone. Now all the kids see the parents fighting now, and this is, goes down. This goes to the leadership. This goes to leadership of Disney right now, which falls in the lap of Bob Chapek. And I understand the business side of it. You have this platform of Disney Plus. We're in the pandemic. We want as many eyes to see this as possible. So yes, we're going to put it in theaters, but we're also going to put it on this platform, which did 60 million, in its opening weekend, which is not a small number. But the side that Scarlett Johansson, like Eman said, there was a contract in place. The verbiage sure might have not explicitly said exclusive in theaters, but you breached my contract. So I'm leaning towards more, and like Eman said, is definitely the court of opinion right now. Everyone looks at Scarlett, and the way Disney is posing this, she's the bad guy. She's the villain of this story. She's the one that's greedy. She wants the money. But I beg people to think, if you were in Scarlett's position, if you were just an average Joe and this was your job, day-to-day job, you would be in the same boat that she was in. I was guaranteed this contract. I was guaranteed this money. Where my money at? So I can totally see where she's coming from. And like I said, I totally blame the leadership and Bob Chapek and mishandling the situation.
Yeah, man. He dropped the ball. And I'm disappointed. Even months ago, where they had an article. This is from Variety as well. Disney's New World Order leads to confusion and bruised egos. This came out in May. This will be in the description box as well. And so you guys definitely checked it out. But the reason why we are here today is because this new article from The Wrap really does break it down, all the nitty gritty on just how crappy things are over at Disney. So it says, inside Disney, how the Bob Chapek riff led to the ScarJo blunder. Insiders tell The Wrap that Iger is mortified that Johansson ended up suing the studio. And that's just so unfortunate, guys. Again, this is exactly what Bob Iger looks like. And if you didn't know, he's always been known to be able to create great relationships, between himself and the talent, between the business side and the creative side. And it looks like, Chapek is just ripping that apart. But if we go back to the article, turns out that corporate rifts have consequences. And let me try to make this big a little bit more. In an open secret in Hollywood, it's an open secret in Hollywood that Disney executive chairman Bob Iger and CEO Bob Chapek have been estranged for months, dating back to the very start of last year's pandemic. Now the consequences of that estrangement are becoming clear. And so I got all this pulled up right here on this first quote. My sources tell me that Iger and Chapek do not interact regularly, but that is pretty damn obvious given the embarrassment lawsuit that Scarlett Johansson filed last week, according to Disney, of breaching her contract for box office-based profit participation on Black Widow after the movie was released day and date on Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus. And worse, there was that insane foot-in-the-mouth response to the lawsuit, in which a spokesman for the company laid off 32,000 workers last year, officially castigating Johansson for callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then received $20 million base salary. Excuse me, what? And so it just also goes on to say, let me back up real quick. I talked with half a dozen executives familiar with Disney and its culture. It seems that Iger either intentionally allowed Chapek to shoot himself in the foot with Johansson's team by failing to step up and to negotiate an alternative to a lawsuit, or that he is so disconnected from his successor that he was not in the loop to step in as he usually would. That is ridiculous. How is the former CEO not able to step in with the current CEO and exchange notes? I don't get it. You're supposed to be one of the most successful corporations, conglomerates in the world, to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, and correct me, Elliot. How are you feeling about that already, man? Just those comments right there.
Well, one of the biggest things is going back to the slander of, how they're posing this and making Scarlett look in this situation. I think I even read an article the other day when they said that it came out that this whole stems from her not continuing the Black Widow Natasha Romanoff character. That's something that's been flown out there, that's where this is kind of coming from, her kind of upset of them ending her character, which again is putting her as a person character out there, that she's just jealous and just mad because they're not continuing her story, which is again more of the slander and making her seem to be the bad guy. But it's obvious at this point that Disney is they're playing it so wrong. And again, and I'll put a little bit of blame on Mr. Bob Iger, because he was the one. He was he picked this guy. He picked Bob Chapek to take in his role. So there was obviously some type of confidence, some type of rapport. And I believe Bob Chapek has been in the Disney regime for 15, 20 plus years with the theme parks and all that stuff. And I've heard the rumors of that hasn't been the most pleasant ride on that per se, and him handling that situation. I think that's where his mindset is kind of handling this. He's never had to deal with a Scarlett Johansson. He's been dealing with these, execs with rides and passing things off. But this is a whole new monster. These are owned individual companies themselves. Scarlett Johansson is her own business. You don't talk to a Scarlett Johansson as you would a park employee. So I think his whole mindset has been kind of muffled and kind of confused on how to handle these situations. But again, like I said, Bob Iger, this was your guy. You picked him. And now it's biting you in the ass, it looks like.
Right on. And before I come to you, Eman, you can comment on that as well, but I just want to throw some more words in there. Starting in the middle of the page, either possibility says bad things about how leadership and succession is working at Disney. One Disney insider told me that Iger found the lawsuit mortifying and thinks that Chapek and the company bungled it. But Zania Mucha, Disney's chief communications officer, wrote in the email, none of this is true. She declined to elaborate. Mucha, who announced last month that she was leaving Disney early next year after 2 decades, also sent a statement last week castigating Johnson. And then she just goes on to say, what do you expect, as former Disney executive who called it irksome, rookie error. Chapek and Iger are not spending time and comparing notes and working to mutual success, which is kind of what you look for in a succession plan. Talent is important. You should proactively say, let's figure this out. As the Wrap has previously reported, Chapek, who rose to the CEO after running the theme parks division, has always been called out for one big hole in his resume: no talent relationships. And this is where having Iger as executive chairman seemed absolutely critical. Having chosen Chapek after rejecting other veteran executives, Jay Rasulo, Tom Staggs, and Kim Mayer, the smooth-talking Iger could groom Chapek supposedly in this area of weakness. Yeah, man, how you feeling about all this, man? How does it make sense to you?
The criticism is valid, right? Like, when you are the main person at the top and you're choosing a successor, you're supposed to also gauge their strengths and weaknesses. You knew who Chapek was. You knew that he did not have the experience in navigating the talent relationships and stuff. I think that there might have been a lot of assumptions made. I think that they were, because here's the thing, Marvel and the movies are not Disney's biggest moneymaker. It's the theme parks. That's the number one thing that they need to make sure, as long as the theme parks work, everything else will fall in place. And I think that they underestimated just how important the movies also have on the image of Disney. And that's something that people need to understand. Yes, Chapek does probably a good job when it comes to crunching the numbers, doing the theme parks, making sure that the business numbers, shareholders, all that works. But the job of a CEO is to also make sure the company doesn't look bad. You're also in charge of making sure that the image maintains. And Disney, of all companies, is all about their image. This is why they do the family fun stuff and they strayed away from rated R content and stuff, because it's all about the image for them. So I would argue that while Chapek might get the dollars and cents together, the image part is what Bob Iger was really making 10 times better and really strong at. And he should have ushered in Chapek at least a little bit more. Maybe do something like, hey, you know what? While you are the CEO, because I know, because I am a shareholder in Disney as well, the fact that they had Iger as a chairman, I felt comfortable, because I'm sitting here thinking like, yo, even if Chapek is doing his thing, Iger's right there. At least Iger can always be that little Jiminy Cricket in his ear. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they don't hang out at the same wine clubs together. I don't know. Maybe they don't golf together or something. I don't know. But whatever reason, he didn't step in. And I think it's because he just assumed, nah, Chapek wouldn't be dumb enough to like do that. You know, he would. I mean, you aired out the salary of an actor. You don't do that. You know,
Right.
let the little insiders and news outlets do that. But as a company, you don't go out there and say, we paid The Rock $50 million and this and that. You
Ridiculous.
don't do that.
Yeah.
That's just bad PR management, right?
Mhm.
So the fact that they did all these things, you know, yes, it's definitely on Chapek because the buck stops with him. But Iger, bro, you should have known better as well. You should have trained this dude, or at least been like, hey, if a decision from the movies or talent comes about, let me be your let me be your co-leader in that, just until you actually get the ins and outs. Because dealing, you know, and one little thing I want to just throw in there, I try to give people the comparison between Steve Jobs and Tim Cook at Apple. Steve Jobs was all about the innovation. There's a reason why we don't hear about Apple doing new innovative things all the time anymore. They were blowing our minds with a new device, new technology. But now when you have Tim Cook, it's about, now we're just going to do an upgrade and make more money. So this is kind of what's happening with Disney. We're not, without Iger, the creativity, the warm relationships, all those intangibles are kind of losing their way. But the numbers, they're going, you know, with Chapek. So they got to get it together, because right now, man, this is not looking good. I mean, it can be a learning experience, but the fact that they let it out, like you said, the parents are fighting, the fact that they let this thing out in the public like this, that's a problem, because people don't know these type of situations. They usually go to arbitration. These are not uncommon. They happen all the time where the actor has an issue, director, producer, they need more money. They handle that behind closed doors. But the fact that you got into this with them and everybody can see it. And by the way, that's a play on ScarJo's people. She knew that this lawsuit, but let me say this better. Disney knew that this lawsuit was going to be a thing. Let's not act like they was just going to be like, oh my God, we're shocked that we're getting sued. This was something that was always building up behind the scenes.
I'm finna get to that part. Yeah, I'm finna
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you good. But right here at the top, Iger, this is also crazy. Iger might have also warned Chapek off, leaving this in the hands of his distribution chief, Kareem Daniel, an engineer turned investment banker with a ton of power and also zero experience managing talent. It just doesn't make no sense to me. Yeah. And let me go ahead and bring up this next part right here. The signals that this signals that everything fell apart. The first Disney insider said there are checks and balances in place to prevent things descending into lawsuits and insults. You have to blow by all different restraint systems to design to keep everyone working together and playing nice. Scarlett's team didn't just go to the courthouse and sue. This executive also noted with surprise the anger in the company's statement about the lawsuit, which I can confirm both shocked and insulted Johansson and her team. Another Disney watcher said it doesn't even matter given the fallout, whether the rift is real or not. It's a clear sign of dysfunction if anyone wonders if Iger was involved or not. That in itself is proof of the rift, the person said. Wow. Elliot, first of all, the hiring a banker with no relationship experience to come in here with all this power. And then, like they said, the Scarlett's team, they've been trying to come to the table for the longest time. So Disney can't just be like, oh, we didn't know, like you were just saying, Eman. But yeah, how you feeling about those comments, bro? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, this is funny to see that WB handled this situation a lot better. As we all know from last year, very almost identical situation with Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot. They heard the announcement, we're going to HBO Max and theater at the same time. And unfortunately, Wonder Woman was the lab rat, the experiment of sorts, and it was kept under wraps. But they got their money, and that's why they're coming back to do a Wonder Woman 3 with Patty and Gal in her respective roles. But unfortunately, the same couldn't be said with Disney, which, as far as stock goes, they have a lot more. This is a property. This is a character. This is a actress that, no disrespect to Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins. This is the cream of the crop. This is an actress you want, that you've just 2 weeks ago announced that you're going to be working with her again to do the project, the Tower of Terror type of project. This is someone that has become a movie star who works behind the scenes now, and it's her own business. And you're treating her like she's some rookie just up the street that doesn't know business, doesn't have lawyers, doesn't have the best lawyers. And again, Scarlett Johansson suing Disney. This is not a situation where she's just doing it out of spite. She must have something. She feels some confidence that she can win this battle. And she's been told by her team that this is a valid battle and a potentially winning battles she can go against. So again, this just goes to show you, talking about the banker, talking about Bob Chapek, underestimating talent, not knowing what the powers that the talent has. Again, this is not Bob Chapek. You're not talking about a teenager that you're telling them, you know, they have to work certain hours and do the parks and it's their way or the highway. This is Scarlett Johansson. These are big movie stars that you're talking to, and they're not just someone you could dismiss. And this is kind of showing, again, the chinks in the armor, man. This is hopefully, this reminds me of Eman. He's from Chicago. This is looking like the Bulls, man, with Phil Jackson, you know, someone that can get the team together and knows how to talk to players and knows the X and O's. But then as soon as you get someone else in the upper, you know, echelon, and messes up the minutia, messes up the team, and the empire slowly crumbled. And we haven't seen a championship in Chicago since '98. So
yeah.
I didn't know we was gonna throw darts in here, man.
Hey, I'm from Chicago.
You're right.
Man.
You're not wrong.
Heart, man.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but man, I just got triggered.
Well, we got this last part right here, and of course, I'm gonna give y'all both another time to talk. But this is the last part. How did it begin? Early in the pandemic, when Chapek had only been CEO for a few months, Iger gave an interview to Ben Smith at the New York Times, stating that he was stepping back in a more active role to help lead through the crisis. That was news to Chapek. He felt blindsided and undermined. It has been a slow, ongoing drift since then, according to my sources, who have been gossiping to me about this for at least 6 months, but only now have the consequences of their corporate estrangement become clear. Let's be honest. Iger's tenure as CEO of the Walt Disney Company was historic, epic in every way. He drove the company to huge expansion, exciting acquisitions, and drove the stock price from $24 in 2005 when he became CEO to many times their value when he left in January 2020. But if he blows a succession piece, his legacy will be tarnished after all. And let me bring up the last part. After all, even Michael Eisner figured out how to get that right. And so that's the end of the article right there. Coming to you now, Eman. I mean, you know, they're trying to say Chapek felt undermined. I don't know about that, man. But again, you know, how you feeling about this, man? How you feeling?
I mean, you know, first of all, like, if you are a leader, you have to be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses too. And when you are aware of those strengths and weaknesses, you're supposed to know when to push the gas and when to hit the brakes. When you don't know something, you need to surround yourself with people that, you know, do know better. I mean, I don't really see why he would, like, when you're making a major decision, like it, you know, dealing with a lawsuit or whatever, especially the fact that it went public. Why are you not consulting other people that have had previous experience? Why are you not calling up Bob Iger and being like, hey, before I go issuing this statement on our company's behalf, what do you think about this? Because I almost want to bet money Iger would have been like, you know what you do? Pull back, do a settlement, do something on the side, yada, yada, yada. Because here's the thing. And I've talked to a couple lawyers about this as well, my lawyer friends. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm leaning on what they say. Because of the fact that this was a pandemic, because this was an act of God, ScarJo might not have a very good case based off of that alone. And again, because the contract did not say exclusive. So in the court of public opinion, I think she wins out. I'm all for getting your money. But I think if it does go to court, I don't know if she's actually going to win. However, just because you win in court doesn't mean that you win overall, right? Because the way that they dogged her out is messed up. It is bogus. And I think what people also need to understand, and this kind of goes to Elliot's point about my Bulls and everything, when you treat a franchise player a certain way, that affects your future relationships in terms of acquiring future talent as well. Let's go back and look at what WB did when they announced that they were dropping everything on HBO Max. They were real quick after all that backlash. Directors, actors, writers, all these guilds and stuff gave them flack for what they were doing. And they was like, whoa. Okay, hold on. Let's cut y'all in on some of the profit. They went back and renegotiated because they realized long-term, we need to secure good talent for the outlook of the company. Sure, in the short term, Disney probably saves $30 million or whatever. But what is that compared to the hundreds, billions that you could be making in the next 10, 15 years? you know, especially if you can keep on getting good name brand talent that's recognizable for audiences. So, you know, at this point, I don't really know how they're going to go about it. I hope that egos, because that's another thing. Egos play a part in this, right? Sometimes people are like, don't tell me nothing. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to run things how I'm going to run things just because of the nature of your position. And I think that that's usually, I mean, when we look at some corporate companies, egos are sometimes the downfall of those companies. Hopefully Disney has enough fail safes. Maybe the chairman of the board itself will be like, hey, we need to either school Chapek on how to deal with this, or he might be out. One way or another, they're going to have to figure that out. I hope the best thing they do right now is take this out of the court of public opinion, take this away from, you know, getting headlines like weekly at this point, settle something behind closed doors, say some, you know, put out another statement and say like, hey, this was an unfortunate situation, but we worked things out. We love ScarJo. We hope she comes back, blah, blah, blah. Just fix the image. Because if they keep going down this route, man, this ain't a good look for the future of Disney. I don't know.
Right on. And then I'm coming to you next, Elliot, of course, but I want to pose a question to you that Eman made me think of it. Eman, you said that you don't, because of the act of God, ScarJo may not have a case in court. However, do you think her team come back and say, like, wait a minute, we've had this model, scratch an act of God. We've had this model for 23 films. It has never, ever been any other release strategy,
right?
You know, where this went out. And then all of a sudden you throw this wrench in the game and change everything. We were going off of 23 previous models.
Yeah.
That was the expectation. So Ed, I want to throw that question to you, Elliot. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say, but also if you can address that, do you think that can be a leg that they stand on?
It could be. I mean, that's a very good point. I don't know if Disney's rebuttal will be, you know, we'll talk to our executives and teams how we handle, you know, Soul, Raya, Cinder, or what was it? Corella and various other projects. You know, they read the contracts, they were okay with it, and now we have this one, you know, angry ex-employee of ours that doesn't abide by the rules. So I don't know if that's still going to be the rebuttal, because, and again, that was the rumor. Emma Stone, you know, and other actors were going to come out and speak to this, which we haven't heard anything about yet. But to Eman's point in regards to you know, settling this, I bet you Bob Chep is like, I can't wait for What If to come out. I can't wait for Shang-Chi to come out. When's that Spider-Man trailer? So they can get rid of this news. Because like Eman just mentioned, right now, this is in the public opinion. This shouldn't be out there, but they're just waiting for that next wave of entertainment to come out so we can forget about this and handle it behind closed doors. But again, we'll see how this all shakes out. I really do hope this does kind of come to a resolve. I do think that, you know, a lot of people are looking at this, but let's be honest. A lot of these actors and actresses, they see this going on in the news, but who wouldn't want to work with Disney? Who wouldn't want to have their own franchise and all that? And I think this will be a point to look at and obviously lawyer up, learn the new terminologies and the jargon about how to write these contracts. I don't think this will, I think this might be the death of Disney Premiere potentially. We'll see in the future, but I think this is just a situation. It really does suck that it's kind of weird how all this plays out, how Black Widow, how Natasha Romanoff, how Scarlett Johansson, how all this shaped out, how all this kind of played together. She was supposed to be the lead of Phase 4. She was supposed to be her swan song, but it's just all playing out terribly. But hopefully, you know, it plays out well. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what her next project's going to be, and who, I hope that she doesn't get looked at as like the person you don't want to work with. You know, she's going to cause issues or whatnot. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to hurt her career, but hopefully this plays out for both sides.
I think you're right too. Like, I think what this will do, especially in the age of streaming, people gonna come with new contracts. You know, and to address your question earlier, Brandon, that same point you mentioned. In contention to the act of God thing. That's what I asked my lawyer friends too. I'm like, but there was an agreed understanding and a standard in the industry, you know, with the language. Can't they use that? And according to my lawyer friends, they were saying, and that's not like the end all say all. Judge can say whatever they want. But they were saying that what could be argued on Disney's behalf is, yeah, that's true. That was the standard. But the act of God created a new standard. because of streaming. So again, I don't know.
Craziness, man.
Personally, I side with ScarJo because I don't like big corporations getting stuff. I want people to get their money. I don't care if it's $20 million to $20. Get your money, but
I do have
man.
A quick question though. So the whole thing of her defense is 50. I think is it 50 million that
there was 50 million in incentives that she could have earned,
right?
And that was based on if it was successful at the box office, though, right?
Right.
But we kind of know the movie, give or take. We don't know the future. But if this film would have came out without Disney Plus, this wasn't going to be a successful film just based on the pandemic and the numbers that we're seeing now and the drop offs from week to week to week. So, do we know that she would have made the incentives?
Maybe. I mean, we don't know what the tiers were, right?
Right.
It could have been like, yo, if you hit 200 million, here's 5 million. If you hit 300 million, here's 15. I think what her argument would be, and keep in mind, this contract was made between her and Marvel Studios, not her and Disney. So the lawsuit is, yo, Disney, you came in and butted into me and Marvel's business.
Right.
Okay. And here's the thing. We've already seen that Marvel had, until they've been overridden by Disney, they had full autonomy to delay and push this movie back. It's been pushed back multiple times. That's because, in my opinion, and I think some reports have confirmed this, that Feige, who's like, Bob Iger Jr., Feige wants to maintain that good relationship. And he's been in interviews saying, we want this to be theatrical. We want this, and so on and so forth. But you saw him change his tune a little bit closer to the end. And I think that's because that's when Disney stepped in and was like, you're going to do this dual release because that's what we want. And Kevin Feige is a company man. He's not about to go out in front of people and contradict them and stuff, even if he feels different behind closed doors. So Marvel could have pushed this back, and I don't think it would have hurt anything. I mean, this movie, it was a prequel. You know what I'm saying? It didn't dramatically change the MCU in any way. Right. If it came out next year, it would have had the same effect and probably earned more in the box office if, everything was good. So
right on. Let's go ahead and wrap things up, guys. I just wanted to say this real quick. I think the film had potential to make 750 to 800 million
non-pandemic situations.
Even definitely non-pandemic, but I'm gonna say even pandemic. And the reason why is because of this film right here, F9. We're in a pandemic, and that made 643 worldwide. And I think that Black Widow is more popular than Fast and the Furious. Eman doesn't think so.
Not globally. Yeah, Fast and the Furious is a billion-dollar franchise. Globally. Now,
Marvel, they averaging. Before this film, they was averaging 963.
I mean, everything ain't doing that. Are you factoring in Endgame and Infinity War? Because those are outliers.
Well, yeah, you're right.
I mean,
I think Ant-Man too. I think Ant-Man only did like 600.
Captain Marvel made that billion because of the Endgame Infinity War factor.
Yeah.
Ant-Man 2 also benefited from the timing and the factor. I think that Black Widow would have made 600 to 700 million on a good couple of weeks. I think that would have been its peak. I don't think it would have, because the thing is, you have to ask yourself, are people going to go back and rewatch it? If it's exclusive to theaters. And I don't think that there was anything in the movie to compel people to go back and rewatch because, like, oh man, because of this thing that happened, mutants are going to happen, or because of this, the multiverse. Like, it's not that deep.
Right. True. And it is a prequel, like y'all said. However, I personally think this movie is better than, I think we all agree that it's better than Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah. And I gotta say this as well as we head out. I understand things got to change. You got to move things around because of the pandemic. And so Disney needed more properties, more titles to put on the streaming service. I get it. And Kevin Feige delivered. Yep. That Miss Marvel was new, She-Hulk was new, What If was new, Armor Wars was new, and also Ironheart. Those were not the original titles on the Disney Plus launch. And y'all wanted streaming, y'all wanted more titles. Kevin Feige gave you titles. It makes sense, but you still have to F it up, Chapek. No, we want Black Widow too. And you see what happens. And so it's unfortunate, and hopefully things work out, for Disney, for Marvel, and us fans. You know what I'm saying? So, because we do love our Marvel. And so, guys, that'll wrap things up. Eman, you got any final words on this topic?
No, man. I mean, like I said, I'm rooting for ScarJo to get her money. You know, I hope that they do all this stuff behind closed doors and just settle. Yo, break her off a couple million here and there. It's not worth all, you know, going through all this publicly bad imagery and optics and stuff. And I hope for real that Bob Chapek learns from this. I do not like, I know the article said earlier he took some investment banker to be in charge of like Kevin Feige's decisions. Like, come on, man. Like,
it's crazy.
All that middle management stuff, it's unnecessary. It's problematic. This is how other company.
Yeah.
You don't come in and try and fix something that wasn't broke.
Right.
There was nothing.
Thank you.
They literally handed this man a golden goose egg and was like, here you go. And he was like, yo, let's have omelets. Why? Why? It's a golden goose egg. Like, calm down.
Yeah, man. Don't make no damn sense.
I hope they get it together. They need to.
Me too. Elliot, do you have any final words, sir, on this topic?
Yeah, man. I think Mr. Chapek needs to get off his Thanos, take off that glove, man, and realize that you know, you don't want to be the bad guy. You know, you don't want to be that guy that comes in and like Eman said, mucks up everything and wants to like, well, let's tweak this, let's do this. Just come in. You can bring in your management type in certain instances, but when it comes to this train that's been chugging along for 10+ years, and again, Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, I mean, you got a good thing going. Put the ego aside. Just you know, if you got to apologize, got to pay her money, just do what you got to do. Because again, this should not be out there. You got to keep your image, like Eman mentioned, you got to keep the image clean. And right now it's looking kind of dirty, but hopefully they figure this out. And again, like I said, Bob Chapek was like, drop that Spider-Man trailer tomorrow.
Yes, yes.
Just this muck. But no, I figured they're going to figure it out, man. They're going to hopefully figure it out.
Right on. Well, guys, there you go. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel. Follow myself, Elliot, and Eman on all the social media handles that you can see on the screen right here. Again, everybody's information is down in the description box below. And you can also always head over to my channel tab because you have Elliot's channel right here, Movie Files. You also have Eman's channel right here at Eman's Movie Reviews. And so always just tune into them so you can have good content. But guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Just My Opinion. And before you go, don't forget that I'm B. Avery, that's Elliot and Eman, and that's just our opinion. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.